So recently, Jacksepticeye came out with a video that a lot of people have kind of had differing opinions on. A lot of people kind of saw it as a out of the sideline curveball when it came to YouTube uploads. I mean, I remember yesterday when it came out, I was actually in the middle of doing my job, and a couple of my coworkers who I didn't even know actually even watched him were talking to me, and they were like, "So, do you know who Jacksepticeye is?" And I was like, "Yeah, of course I know who Jacksepticeye is." But they were pulling their phones out in the middle of work, and they were looking at their YouTube notifications, and they just saw one notification from his channel from the video that came out yesterday, basically just saying, "Am I retiring from YouTube?" And I can't lie to you, that kind of did, shock me a little bit, because it's one of the few YouTubers that you don't expect to make a video like that. But as he even put it in his video, and when you kind of think about it, he has been doing YouTube for a full third of his life. If you count the constant stream of 2 videos every single day, he's been doing that for 5 years clean. And if you count the consistent kind of upload over the entire time, he's been consistently uploading pretty much ever since 2012. So yeah, a little bit over 10 years he's been on YouTube. So pretty much, yeah, a third of his life. And I'm not saying this or making this video to kind of just say I don't want him to quit YouTube. Like, I'm not one of those hyper fans that just immediately saw it and went like,
No, this can't be! He can't afford to retire! He can't retire!
I'm not one of those type of people. Which, again, no disrespect to anybody that is like that, because I can understand why people would be a little upset for any reason for why any YouTuber retires. I mean, we saw how, much of an impact the entire MatPat retiring situation was. Like, even people who I didn't even think were big fans of the Game Theorist came out and they were just like, "Salutations, MatPat. We love you and we love everything you've done." As you do kind of think about it, while it's still kind of a scary thought to think about, eventually these YouTubers will retire. And I'd actually planned on making a video similar to this when MatPat retired, but I was kind of waiting until I got a YouTuber that I could kind of speak on a little bit more, because while I don't hate MatPat and I don't hate the Game Theorists, they definitely were not my cup of tea. I mainly watched their videos for meme or nostalgia replay video kind of things, where if there was that one Five Nights at Freddy's video I just happened to like a lot, then I of course would rewatch it every now and again. But I can't say confidently that I actually enjoyed watching their stuff. But I can confidently say I did enjoy watching Jacksepticeye's content. And this is not meant to throw MatPat under the bus and say his impact on YouTube is not as big as it was. I mean, YouTube themselves even came out with a goodbye MatPat video. That should show you the real impact of how much, of a good YouTuber he actually was. But I'd like to think that Jacksepticeye would probably strike a chord with more people. And before we even go too much further, I know I've been talking for 3.5 minutes right now. If you haven't seen his video, he's not retiring yet. As in, when he made the video, a lot of people, he immediately knew were going to see the title and just be like, nah, he's retiring soon. But no, he tries to restructure the fact that at least this year, he won't be. He did talk about how he really was thinking about it at the start of this year, thinking about maybe I should, maybe I should think about it. And, kind of realize, has YouTube, been benefiting me a lot recently? And he goes into more detail about, his mental health and how YouTube has kind of, affected him over this time. And, which I'm really glad to see, although I didn't really scroll. I did not see a lot of people giving him shit at all. It was actually kind of rare to see people giving him shit in the comment section, because I was kind of thinking his comment section would turn into some of the Twitter warriors who would go down there and just be like, "How are you complaining about YouTube? All you have to do is just sit video games." Which, if you think about it, I mean, Jacksepticeye's kind of been working a lot harder on his content than he has in the last 5 years, I want to say. Which you can definitely make that argument and say well, it's actually even easier now than it was back then. You can definitely make that argument. But I'd like to think he's putting a lot more effort in, just based off the fact alone that his most recent videos of him covering a game are usually just in one playthrough. He talked about that in his video as well, where he said, the most fun thing at this point in time compared to a few years ago is just playing a game that he really enjoys, but just posting it all at once. Something that he also talked about as well, which I kind of thought about a little bit hard myself, is just how there's a lot more factors in YouTube that you have to care about now than you had to when he was top. Well, basically, not trying to flaunt his ego, but basically when he was top dog, back years ago, 2015, 16, 17, he even says up until 2019, basically. you didn't have to think about things as he talks about how you didn't necessarily have to think about what tags you put in your videos. You didn't have to think about titles. You didn't have to care about thumbnails. You didn't have to care about like making sure this video has a high enough, high like audience attention rate, or even made sure that your impressions mattered. He talks about like how you didn't have to care about your statistics like in your own YouTube analytics at all. You could just record something, upload it, and people would watch it. He even talks about like how since he's been around for so long and people know who he is, he doesn't necessarily have to worry if a video, for example, gets like a really low click-through rate, which is probably one of the biggest factors to any YouTuber like being able to grow. When you have like a high click rate, it means that more impressions get sent out, and if those impressions are getting, more clicks, then of course your video is going to get pushed out further. But he said like, he didn't necessarily have to worry about that at this point in time just because he's been around for so long that people automatically know who he is. So he can, for the most part, put a video out and it'll get 1 million views within like the first 2 days because it's Jacksepticeye. He never really like makes bad content. But when you do think about it a little bit in perspective, it's kind of like when he had 10 million subscribers, when he was still like, climbing the YouTube like hierarchy or whatnot. He could get 1 million views in 2 days at 10 million subscribers, but he's still getting 1 million views with 30 million subscribers. So although it's still good numbers, we're not going to say that it's not good numbers. A lot of people can kind of put that together and realize, well, technically getting 1 million views in the same time that you had 10 million subscribers and then getting the same amount of views in the same time with 30 million does not look like you're benefiting at all. Which, a lot of people can look at that and just say, yeah, it doesn't look like he grew that much on his own anyway. And if you do look at the last couple of years, his subscriber growth, while it's been consistent, and that should be the most important factor, even though subscribers at this point in age don't really matter because YouTube's tried to push away the notification thing. Like they added, the notification bell. They don't care about sub boxes as much as they used to. It is still something worth pointing out, just considering the fact that, of how long he's been doing it for. And, nothing really changed. But again, why am I also making this video besides talking about some of his statistics that, again, while we don't have publicly, he was, willing to go into detail about? I'm talking about it today just because it kind of put into perspective a little bit more about how much YouTube has changed since, a lot of us started actually watching these YouTubers. And then, again, how long they've actually been doing it. Because a lot of the things that he complained about in his videos, which are reasonable complaints, I'm not going to say they're not reasonable complaints, are things that I didn't necessarily get to experience myself. Now, I've been making YouTube videos pretty much ever since I was 11 years old, like 9 years ago. And I didn't start actually uploading like properly on a PC, with all the, analytics and everything like that until 2020, 2021, somewhere around there. So by the time YouTube had already incorporated all these systems. So in terms of uploading YouTube videos in the golden era and kind of, being able to benefit out of how much of a Wild West it was even at that point, 10 years out. Looking at it now, having to care about, like, your title, your thumbnail, your tags, and all that stuff doesn't necessarily bother me, but I can understand why that is necessarily exhausting for someone like him, who, again, used to just kind of post videos and people would like it. Because something that YouTube pushes now that a lot of people don't necessarily like, and even to an extent I don't like it, even though I can get used to it, is YouTube does not prioritize a creator personality. They prioritize a video that's going to keep a audience's attention rate up so that they don't leave the site. If your video is basically not worth watching, like let's just say YouTube hypothetically like puts a video that maybe you record like a 10-minute video, and in your own analytics page, within the first 20 seconds, your attention rate drops below 30%, YouTube's not going to promote that video at all. They're not going to promote it at all. But again, to YouTube, why would they want to promote something that's not going to keep the viewer's attention rate? It didn't used to matter because people would just kind of come to YouTube for the sake of coming to YouTube. But at the end of the day, it's a business. So I can't necessarily blame them, but it definitely does feel a lot different. That's why nowadays a lot of YouTubers kind of just repeat the same thing. Shorts feel the same because a lot of like highlights from other YouTubers, like podcast highlights or video highlights, all have the same auto-generated text. They have the exact same kind of like format with a watermark in the middle. It's just because it works. Not only that, a lot of YouTubers' personalities are overdone by over-editing. There's no actual high energetic personality. It's a straight up fake persona that is encapsulated by hyper-editing. And I don't necessarily hate hyper editing. But I do hate editing that more or less goes along the lines of like,
hey guys, me Sung One. Whoa, yeah, YouTube, yeah, like, comment, and subscribe. Shoot me in the fucking face.
that type of editing, where like it'll be that type of personality, but that's not them, and then they'll just re-edit that to make it look, you know, something to keep like the attention of whoever's watching. And most of the time, it's done towards the younger audience, you know, the kids that are lucky enough to get regular YouTube on their iPads, not just YouTube Kids. And that's something I feel like YouTube has been missing for like a long time, is just a creator with a personality that YouTube is willing to promote for the personality. Not even just because the, you know, the audience attention rate is low, but just promote them because of their personality. I guess what I'm trying to say is, Jack, I can understand why you felt like retiring. And I'll just let it be said for me, and I feel like a lot of people who will see this video will also sympathize. I think if you want to completely retire, we will be more than willing to support you in a full, you know, endeavor to actually fully retire from YouTube. Will we like it? No, we're not going to like it. But we will understand that it is the best choice for you. And hell, by the time it happens, people will automatically just be like, you know what? He did his job. He was there for us. And we're glad to see him go out with a bang rather than a crash and burn like some YouTubers have gone out over the years, whether it be for controversy or they just, you know, lose their spark, basically. Because everybody has their time in the spotlight. But not everybody can hold their time in the spotlight forever. That's just the sad truth of reality. So, thank you guys very much for watching.